feel like I'm still learning Zoom. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to start doing a little introduction and then we'll just go right in. Word? All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for another season and another episode of HitaTalk. I am your host, Anahita, and I'm so excited to have you here because season 4 is carrying over the theme of season 3. Which if you haven't watched, go back and do a binge watch of that. But season 3 was all about Wonder Women of the Twin Cities. And of course, I have amazing women on season 4. But this is a little bit of a twist. We're featuring the Mom Squad, which is a whole bunch of amazing women that are also mom bosses. And right here is my very first guest is Erica Hoese of EXO. Erica, how are you, girl?
I'm great. So good. So good.
So all things 2020, we would normally be in a studio, but we're doing it on Zoom, right? That's like how we do things around here.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to just dive right in. I want to hear, I know a little bit, of course, but the people watching this want to be blown away by all things Erica. So let's just like talk about back in the day, Erica. You know, where did you grow up? What were you like as a little girl? I mean, that's a lot of questions, but you know where to start.
Sure. So I grew up in South Dakota, a small town of Lenox, which was 20 miles south of Sioux Falls. And as a girl, I was very timid and shy and really reserved. So, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Was it a small town?
Yes. Think about like 1,500, 1,200, somewhere around there.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty intimate. And so at what point did you make your way to the Minnesota?
I actually met my husband in college in Wilmer.
Did you
that
really?
drew me up here. Yep.
What's your background? What college
So
background?
I actually went to school to be a veterinary technician. So I was always passionate about animals and helping and nurturing. And I knew after the first year in college that that's not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then I met Eric because we live on our dairy farm now. So that's how I met him in college. And my dad used to be a wrestling coach. So naturally I grew up in the wrestling room, and that's kind of, you know, it's funny to look at that of where I was and to now it's a total shift, but really it was everything that led up into that point. Like Saturday mornings, growing up in the weight room, like getting the knowledge, but not actually using it until probably closer to my late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, so your mind was being fed with all sorts of really cool stuff, just not knowing at that time that would be a significant part of your life many years later.
Yeah.
So you guys live on a dairy farm right outside of the Twin Cities, but you work with a lot of amazing women. So we're going to get into all of that in a second, but tell me about your family. So you and your husband, Eric, and you have some kiddos.
Yeah, we have 3 kids. My son, Cade, my daughter, Ryan, and then my younger son, Jace.
Oh my gosh. What's their ages?
11, 9, she'll be 10 in January, and 6.
Oh my gosh. You got your hands full.
Yeah, they keep me pretty busy.
Dairy farm, you got the biz, you got the kiddos, all things 2020. There's probably some distance learning in there. The nice thing about what I've picked up about you and your business and like just like your home life setting is you guys have so much like open land that you can do your building stuff, you're doing like your workout groups outside, but outside of like your home life, you operate another business or you have another establishment, right? Talk about that.
I have a brick and mortar business in Waconia. It's basically like a smoothie shop. A healthy coffee shop so people can come in and get protein smoothies, energy teas. And that's what really started me down this path of health and wellness because I was looking to get better results for myself. I was at the time only had Cade and Ryan, so 2 kids, and I was just really lacking energy, really unfulfilled, and just looking for that next step and that inner fire.
So you hadn't opened up the brick and mortar yet?
No, not that was back in 2013.
Okay. So how'd you come to open that? What made you?
One of my friends, I was sitting at her house. Our husbands knew each other. And literally it was after my daughter was born. I just kind of tiptoeing, like I knew I needed a change, but I wasn't really totally committed yet. And she gave me shake mix. She's like, here, try this. So I did. And someone who actually grew up with like protein powder in the pantry, this was something that I never have tried before experienced. So I was like blown away with how good it tasted.
So it was a girlfriend that was like, try this.
Yeah.
Did you go into business with her or was that separate?
Yeah. So her and I own Elite Nutrition and we've been partners since, well, 7 years, 2013.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay, so when people come in Waconia to Elite Nutrition, well, 2020, they can't really come and like sit inside,
No, it's
but
carry
order to go.
inside. Yeah. Pick up.
Okay, right on. All right, so let's hold on that for a second because I'm sure it's going to tie directly with what you're doing with Exo Erica. How did you go from background in veterinary tech to you are such a cheerleader for women, fitness, nutrition, and wellness? So how'd you go from that to what you're doing now?
Oh, it's been 8 years. It's been a transition. But again, I just started with my own results. So feeling better about myself, we opened a nutrition club. And then it was at that time, it was back in 2000 and it was actually like the fall of 2013 when I got pregnant with Jace, because he was 2014 was my due date. And there was just something in the pit of my stomach knowing like you were meant for more. Like, this is awesome, but there's so much more in you that you need to let out. And again, I kind of went into like within, I guess, of just coming back to myself, centering. And then that's when I got into really lifting weights. I got into bodybuilding. I've competed in figure shows. And what I've come to realize was that was the gateway to unleashing it. So I look back, like when you had asked how I was as a child to now, like people don't even correlate me as the same person. Because what fitness has done for me is it's allowed to my real self to come forward.
How much of your real self is like Ip and your awesome hair, by the way? Let's just acknowledge that. Will you do a profile shot? You guys have to check out Erica's hair. Look at that. It is the most badass haircut I think any of my friends have. Not to like say they don't have great hair. But do you think like, how did you come up with this hairstyle? And is it like correlated with what you're doing?
Well, now it's recognizable. So I was teasing because I was like, how do I get my haircuts wrapped around my business? Because people recognize me now for my hair, which is kind of funny. But it was in 2015 I got it cut. I've always had short hair since sophomore year in high school, and each year they kept getting a little bit shorter. And I just wanted to change. Like, I wanted that inside to match my outside. I was going through the process. I had the outside transformation and I really just wanted something bold. So I remember it was actually Scarlett Johansson. She had her hair like this. I sent the picture to my hairstylist and I was like, can I pull this off? And she's like, absolutely. So, and then it's not a funny story, but one of the ironic stories is I didn't tell very many people I was getting my hair cut like this because of fear of judgment, fear of what they would think. And I knew it was something drastic and different. So I was driving into the parking lot and I was on a phone with a friend, and I know she was coming from a place of, she didn't want it to end badly. And she just said, don't cut your hair like that. You're not gonna, it's not gonna go well. You're not gonna like it. It's gonna take too long to grow back. And so I went in there with that notion going, okay, I'm not gonna do it. And after Natasha, my hairstylist, cut my hair, she's probably wondering like why we haven't done this yet. And she leaned down, I still remember this moment. She leaned down, put her head right next to my ear. We're looking in the mirror and she said, you didn't drive all the way out here for me to just cut it or to trim it. And then I looked at her and I'm like, shave it. So of course she did it. And then everybody was like, it looks amazing. But what I love telling that story, because whether it's about business, you're like going for your dreams with your health and fitness goals, like you have to have someone taking a stand for you, no matter what that is. And if you don't have the people around you in your corner, it's never going to happen. And you're going to be living this life on autopilot because you're just kind of like where I was going, there's so much more in you, but you're not letting it out.
Oh my gosh, we don't have to go any further, everybody. She just dropped the mic. That's all I have to say. That is such freaking amazing, just insight to hear. And I got goosebumps while you were telling that story. But you've told that before, and like that's how impactful something like that is, because I got some chills. Well, way to go, Natasha, for saying, let's just do it. And then you making that move. But it's not the first time you've done something bold in your life. Obviously, you've done bigger competitions, married, have kids, and you got this business. So let's just talk about the business for a second before we integrate mommy life. What is Exo Erica? What are you working on like as your biggest mission right now?
Exo Erica, so one of my highest core values is love. So EXO means the signature hugs and kisses, kind of equate that with love, but it also means Executive Officer of the Fit Mom Army.
Ooh, say that one more time.
Executive Officer of the Fit Mom Army.
So badass. Okay.
So really what that is, just my message of, you know, as moms, we are so good at putting everybody's needs before our own. And we feel guilty when we do that because we think we need to do it all. And women are powerhouses. Like there's days where I would come home and go, oh, I didn't really do anything, or I didn't do enough. And we do so much and we don't give ourselves the credit. And I remember just, you know, a mom is just a little role that we play. Like it's a big role, but it's one of the roles. It's not the whole role. So knowing that you can still take care of yourself, and you can still go after your dreams, and you can pretty much have it all depending on what that is for you.
It is definitely a huge role. And I think, like you said it best, a lot of women just freeze and they're like, what have I done? Or now I have to fulfill only my mom duties.
Yeah.
So, okay, Fit Mom Army. It seems intimidating for some people. It's kind of like, she's going to kick my ass. We're only going to do boot camp. I don't want to be super buff. Like, what's people's, I mean, that's probably part of it, but what's people's perceptions? And then what do you actually do?
Yeah, so I actually get a lot of that because I was like, dang, someone said that to me the other day on social media, and I get a lot of people that see me online and they get intimidated. I'm not sure if it is the hair or what, but then they'll also say, but as soon as I meet you, they're like hooked, because I feel like I do have that maybe harder exterior now, but then I'm a softie at heart. And really it's just lifting. I call it boot camp mostly because it's the Fit Mom Army, but I am such a weightlifter. So for me, it's all about body sculpting. You will absolutely become stronger. One of my first goals was just to be able to do a pull-up. But for me, it's about looking and feeling good and having that inner confidence.
Oh my gosh, doing one pull-up would be like the most incredible fitness milestone, aside from getting off the couch and going for a nice jog. But that's not easy. I can't do a single pull-up. I've had terrible arm strength for years, so that's a pretty hefty goal. And I don't think anyone's going to be like massively buff after doing one pull-up.
Well, and it's a lifestyle, like knowing you can't just work out for one day and be like, okay, I've arrived. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you have a couple of different programs. Share with us what that entails for people that might be interested.
Sure. So I do, so my biggest program is my group training program called She is Fierce. It's an 8-week program. It's basically a combination between my one-on-one coaching and my group boot camps. But you get me for the 8 weeks. We have a private Facebook group. You get the meal plan, the nutrition. So it's pretty much like personal training with 5 other women. So you not only you get me, but you get to have that community and that tribe.
Oh my gosh. And that's 8 weeks. Are you all meeting together right now, or is some of it virtual?
Nope. So normally I open my classes up for December, but since we're on a 4-week lockdown, I guess, with the gyms, I am just taking a time to do an online challenge, and then I'll relaunch in January. And then I'm also working on behind the scenes. I don't exactly have a name for it yet, but it's pretty much like, I call it like a pocket product where it's like a little intro of my program. It's going to be 5 to 7 days long. So if you just want to get a taste of what it's like to work with me, you can, and it's all on your own. You just do it on your own.
I like that. Okay, so for anyone that feels hesitant to approach you or the topic of wellness, because who knows what everyone's stories are. Everyone has different beef with themselves and, you know, blocks that excuses they put out there, or maybe they're straight up like, I can't compete with her hair. I mean, whatever it is, I'm sure that's not what it is. What would you say to like tone down the edge or make them feel more encouraged to come chat with you?
I would say I'm just like you. I'm a mom who is just looking to find herself and help other moms. And the other thing that always rings true is you don't know if you don't ask.
You don't know if you don't ask. Yeah.
And I've gotten so, like, I used to feel like that too. Like, oh, I don't want to bother this person, or, you know, like all those are just limiting beliefs that get in our own way. So I've had a few people over the last week that have just messaged me, and it's amazing what happens when you just ask.
Just ask a question. If you think about it, okay, so many of us, I think maybe even you and I included, although I think we met at Mini Mama Meetup, I can't remember. Isn't that funny how I can't remember how we met because it's been so long?
I know, yes.
It hasn't been that long, maybe 2 years. At any rate, Instagram is like the whole like meet a mom platform these days.
My jam.
Slide into the DMs, ask a question. You don't know until you don't ask. What would you say is like the biggest common obstacle or frustration women have when they come to you, when they finally like pour it all out? Like, what is that's a weird question to ask. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, what's going on with most moms? Is it weight loss? Is it trauma? You know, what is going on?
I think a lot of it is just, it always starts with the outside, like losing weight. A lot of it's abs because, you know, being a mom, that's like the area that gets hit the hardest.
Oh yeah.
And it's usually always the last thing to come into place. But when we dig down deeper, it's really just that self-confidence and finding themselves again and reconnecting and rediscovering who that woman is.
Okay, so this is why I think you are exceptionally unique. I mean, you do so many fun things that so people that are watching this, we did a fitness in the park, Erica and I, summer of 2019. And that was like just before I started really going down the toilet with like just personal stuff mentally. I've gained so much more weight since then. And I thought the whole like doing a pull-up was hard then. But when we got to that event, it was a super small, intimate, 5, 6 of us. It was perfect. It was like the most practical, fun, like easy situation because what did we do? We did like some mini circuits, but it was timed. It wasn't like, all right, do 12 and then 10 and then pick this up. It was like, I'm going to set a timer for 30 seconds. If you do 1, great. If you do 30, great.
Yep. So
why
that's
do
how
you,
I do things.
yeah, why do you approach it that way instead of a little bit more of the boot camp mentality?
Because naturally, one of my strengths is including people. And when you start doing like 10 of each or 12 or whatever the number, there's always going to be someone that finishes first and there's always going to be someone that finishes last. And I never want someone to walk away feeling like they didn't do enough. So that's why I set timers, because they can push themselves to their own limit, and it's all about you versus you being your own best. Your best is going to look different than my best. And it's just about getting better every single day.
I'm just getting goosebumps all the time, you guys. This is amazing. Yeah, that's probably why I really was attracted to that, because I have almost always in school come in last for the mile run, the dreaded mile run that I would walk or jog. And it's not like, okay, you have 5 minutes to run as many laps as you can. It's how long is it going to take you? And that's so depleting at some point.
Yeah. Yep.
So at the Fitness in the Park event, we were wearing a couple of really cute tanks, and that was part of the goodie bag. You gave out some tanks too. But your slogan, one of your many things, is lift, love, mom, repeat. Let's talk about that.
So that is actually an awesome tagline, if I do say so myself.
It is awesome. That's why I like wearing that tank, by the way. It says lift, love, mom, repeat. But go ahead.
It's also my values, my core values. So lift is fitness, health and fitness, move your body every single day. Love is one of my highest core values. And it also means to self-love, be love, go show love. Mom is the word I hold closest to my heart because it is a big role that we play. And then repeat day in and day out. Just keep doing it.
And go and do it again and don't stop. And every day is going to look different, right? What do you say to people that feel like they're just taking charge and they're like kicking butt, and then all of a sudden they have something like Thanksgiving stuffing for 3 days, and then they feel like a setback and then they fall off? Like, that's hard for anybody, but exactly, you are us, right? So
Yeah.
how do you work around that whole situation?
So yeah, that actually just happened. I just said that to my husband. I was like, oh, it's doing so good. And then, you kind of like trickle off. So what I would say to that is, call it silly, whatever. I always like do my hair because that gives me the confidence. Like, this is part of my confidence superpower. So when I do my hair, I feel good. And sometimes like doing my makeup, putting on some nice workout clothes. And then the biggest thing with that is, you want to build habits, because motivation is not always going to be there. There's days where I do not want to work out, but it's a habit. So I go do it anyway. And I would say start small, like tell yourself you're just going to go and lift or work out for 10 minutes. Because chances are if you start for like 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to keep going and you're going to finish your whole workout, because you're going to get those endorphins, and you're just going to feel like after I finish my workout, I just feel so alive and like on top of the world that I'm just like, I just want more of this.
I don't know what it is about working out. It is the most dreadful, like daunting thought. And then you're there and you're like, all right, I'll just do like a set, or like, I'll just walk on the treadmill for 15 minutes. And almost every single time I add like an extra half hour, and then I'm like, I'm going to go get the kettlebells. And then I'm like, on top of the freaking world.
Yes.
I can't do the pull-ups still, but I'm almost there.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So lift, love, mom, repeat. How in the world are you trying to build this business? Not trying, you are doing it very well, with 3 kids at home. How do you integrate this? Please share all of your tips.
Well, there's no such thing as balance. And I always say it's a consistency within the inconsistency. So some days my clients get more of my time. Some days my family gets more of my time. Some days my business. And what I like to do is pick 3 things every day. So 1 for my business, 1 for my family, 1 for myself. Because I am a little bit of an overachiever, a little ambitious.
Is that right?
And we always have like this long list of to-dos, never done. So I had to start picking 3 things, because then when I would check those off the list, I'd feel that self-trust would come back. I would feel confident. I'd be like, yes, and then I can keep going. If my list was 10 layers deep and I only got 2, I would always feel like, oh, I didn't do a good job today. I didn't do enough. Yeah. And then if you knock off more, that's just a bonus.
That's a bonus. With some of the mobile mommy tips I shared back, prior to this rebrand of MomSquad, was my rule of, you have the rule of 3 I see implemented in several different things, but people's lists are just so damn long. And I can see you've kind of incorporated a variation. Well, you've already had it. It's not like you've taken my insight, but you have your own variation of what I recommend people to do with automating, delegating, and eliminating. And it's almost like taking nearly everything off the list, except for like your 3 most important things you have to do this month, this week, or today. Sometimes like your daily one, honestly.
Yeah.
And I like that you have that one thing for each of those categories. Do you ever have like a rest day where you're like, you literally can't turn your brain off as an entrepreneur, but what does that look like for you to just honestly do nothing? Or what does rest days look like for you?
Usually they're on the weekends. So usually like a Sunday, which would be today. Um, Hanging out with my family. We're big into movies, so we love doing movie nights. And just building in time with them. Like I'm very introverted, which probably sometimes shocks people, but I can just sit and do nothing, like read a book, watch a movie, just
Yeah.
relax.
Yeah. So you can miraculously turn off the entrepreneur brain for at least a day.
At least, yes. Well, and that's the funny thing is, so like in my classes, I teach meditation, and we do that with our cool down, but I build it in because we live in a society, and this is from my own personal experience too, but always doing, instead of my whole shift was being. How am I showing up? And it's in the rest moments that you actually get your best ideas, when you allow yourself to just shut your brain off. Because otherwise, when you're doing it, you're always forcing it instead of just allowing it to come to you.
You know, that's why they always say, like, I get my best ideas in the shower, because you're not doing anything but like freaking washing your hair or driving for me, because like I can't be on my email. I can't be on my phone. Even like plugging in headphones and driving I just want to let my brain just go. And then I'm like, where's my assistant? I need someone to write my notes down. I have a lot. So I like that meditation aspect. We did the meditation at the end of the Fitness in the Park, which was fantastic. You just kind of tapped in on that, but like you also have like affirmation cards, and you share just really sweet things like messages, you text, you just added that. I just think it's the most easy boost of confidence or encouragement. But like, what kind of provoked you to want to do that?
A lot of it was from my own journey. So it's interesting because like a lot of people see me as super positive, and I am, but naturally there's always darkness with the light. So I am my own worst enemy, which is probably just like you too. So a lot of that was from my own personal journey, because I had to go through that myself on changing my internal talk.
Yeah.
And then as far as meditation, we are so consumed by information, just coming at us. And really that was my opportunity to reconnect to myself and just create like literally space. Because when we're out, and it all comes back to building that relationship with yourself. And you can't do that if you're always doing or consuming. You have to just allow yourself to get to know you again.
And that is a whole statement right there. You know how people say, okay, so when I was pregnant, I would hear a lot of my friends and mom friends say, I used to this, I used to that before baby. And I totally still say all that now. It's almost like two different universes. But it's like, you do change. And I think a lot of people see that as a bad thing. And I like that you try to bring out the positives of it, especially when the freaking body goes through so much, which is beautiful because you birth out these babies.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that you have so much encouragement. Do you work with a lot of moms?
I do. That's my main clientele. And I will say I did a social media post about this, but I apologize saying I used to, in my copy, I would always say pre-pregnancy. And I was like, no, because you can't go back to pre-pregnancy. And I think of my own story, and it's like, I wouldn't want to, because I have a better body now than I ever did before pre-pregnancy.
Oh,
so for me, it's just about building new. Like you get to recreate, rediscover, redefine, whatever that is.
A healthier you, maybe even. Okay, so a couple things I want to touch on is you've come a long way. That's a huge success and milestone, but no road is easy. Of probably the many things that you could probably rattle off, but what has been, you keep saying like your journey, your story, what has been maybe one of like the biggest challenges or obstacles that you have faced along the way that really kind of helped define this path that you're taking, or that like slapped you upside the head and you're like, well, that sucked?
I would say a lot of it is in my own head.
Uh,
Like the doubts, the fears. I've always been my own worst critic, my own worst enemy, and allowing other people to dictate, or the judgments or the fear. I'm naturally a people pleaser by heart, and it's taking a long time for me to get to not everybody's going to like me, and that's okay.
that
You
is
can't,
okay.
yeah.
That is so okay. I feel like I need to have a big ass poster that says it's okay, people don't like you. And I think that's hard for a lot of people, especially moms, because you're teaching kindness and all of that into your children. And then here you are. Some don't care. And some people it's really hard for.
Yeah.
Because how much of like our body image and our inner issues is not only a reflection of ourselves, but like how much we want to please other people. Like, who cares if your rolls are hanging out over your pants? Do you feel good? Are you healthy? Like, are you eating right? Do you drink enough water? Your body is beautiful. Those are things that I think we should all be telling ourselves.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so what has been one of your biggest accomplishments that you're so dang proud of?
Whew. I would say, well, this is kind of a twofold. I would say probably figure shows, like as far as like personally competing in 7-figure shows. I placed in all of them, which is pretty freaking fantastic.
So amazing.
Um, and the other thing would probably go back to being a mom. Um, I think that, oh, I always get emotional when I say this, but I think when everybody can say that they're like, I'm great, you're awesome, you know, thank you. But if my kids don't say that about me, then I'm not doing a very good job, because they are my legacy. And there's a quote that is in my dining room that says, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.
Yeah.
And I truly, truly believe that, because no amount of success is enough if my kids aren't having that reflection back to me.
You got me all choked up over here. You've said that before on your quotes. I feel like you share the best things. But go home and love your family. And that family can look different for everybody. You have a beautiful family of 5, and you're on your dairy farm. Okay, so speaking of kids and family, you have one daughter, right?
Yes.
Well, and your 2 boys though too. I feel like I have this kids empowerment program, and it was at first geared towards girls 7 to 9, because that's a very impactful age that people don't really expect to be impactful. But even the boys are watching, and it's important to lead by example, whether that's a good example or bad example, and then teach the best we can. Oh man, this is such a tough one. What would you like want her to like take away the most? Like, what do you want her to know about what you're doing and why you're doing it?
So I kind of had this conversation with her yesterday, because my son he is actually pretty sensitive, but he was calling her names and she was getting upset.
Ooh.
And I've been trying to teach her, like, you know, the whole, it doesn't matter what other people think, it's how you feel. And just instilling that in a young age. And she might not get it now, but I know it'll come down the road, and she'll get it a heck of a lot sooner than I did.
Yeah.
But for me, yeah, for her, and just knowing what I'm doing is, she's kind of going through those changes now, and she's going to be for the next few years, and just teaching her to love her body, love herself, accept herself, because really that's the only thing that matters.
I love that. Do your kids join in on the workout and the health and fitness stuff, or do they just let mom do mom?
They usually let me do me. However, when I'm shooting a live video, or like, then of course they always want to be in on the action. Yesterday though, so I turned my garage into my little gym, and we had a pull-up competition, which is kind of fun. So
All of the kids? All of you?
and my husband and I.
Okay, who won?
He won. Well, we tied actually, because he only does it enough until I went first, and then he went. So, and he only goes up to me, because then he's like, oh, I don't have to do it anymore. But he works really hard in his own right. So I always give him crap about that.
that pull-up competitions only at the Hoese household, because some of
Yeah.
us have like different competitions, like who can eat the most jelly beans, or oh, I'm just teasing. Okay, speaking of like growing up with just knowledge and just experiences and a whole different era now versus when we grew up, but what would you go back, you currently today, what would you go back and tell your 16-year-old self?
Ugh. Um, that it's okay to shine. It's okay to be seen. It's okay to be heard, and just follow your heart.
What were you like at 16? What was happening?
I was very quiet.
Yeah.
Um, but I was always nice to everyone. Like, I was up on the homecoming court. I was a peer helper. So naturally that kind of plays into my coaching role. I was voted, we had 500 in our whole school, and I was voted the most trustworthy out of the whole entire school. So that was a pretty big accomplishment on my part.
That's
It's interesting how everything in your life leads you up into this moment. But for me, I always want to make a big impact, but then the other half of me goes, okay, but just I don't want to be seen though. I just want to kind of hide in the shadows.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how that is just like a push and pull.
It is interesting, but you know what? And you've pointed this out recently yourself too, but especially on your own, well, business platform, you're trying to lead by example with the ladies in your collective. At home, you're leading by example to your husband and kids, but like across the board, you don't just tell people what to do, you're doing it. Like, you're doing the meals, you're doing the workouts, you're doing the videos, you're showing the raw moments. And then over here in the fitness aspect of it for your clients, you're at the gym and you show them that you're getting your own butt kicked as a trainer. Why is that important to do that?
To keep iron sharpens iron. So I need someone to push me just as much as in accountability. It's nice to have that, my coach to guide me, but then also just to show up and not have to think about it.
Yeah.
And because sometimes when I do my own workouts, one of the kids comes out or my phone goes off and then I stop. And so it's all that interruption. So it's really important for me to carve out that time for myself too.
Was it nerve-wracking to show that to your clients and like on your social media, or did it just seem like a no-brainer?
At first it was.
Yeah.
But then I got to the point where it's like, no one is self-made. You always have help. And it's okay to show people that you have help. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh my gosh, do we just have a quote board going? I feel like I should have a ticker with like all of Erica's quotes. Maybe when I put this out there for people and share this, we can just share out the quotes. But we could talk forever. I know that you're a busy mom boss, so I'm going to let you get back to your busy, beautiful world. But before we go, what is the one thing you want people to know about like working with you and like what they can expect?
For me, I want people to have the mindset of coming in that it's not a quick fix. And I've always said this, like, I would rather have it take you 6 months to lose the weight and keep it off than to lose it in a month or two and then go right back into those old habits. More than likely, it doesn't take that long, but just kind of setting yourself up, like, I'm in it for the long haul. I remember I was at my club and someone came to me and they're like, so how long did it take you to get to your dream body? And I looked at her and I said, I'm not there yet. Because knowing like there's always going to be another step to the ladder.
Yeah.
And you're always going to want more. So you really, in order for you to get there, you have to love and accept yourself for who you are completely. And then the path gets a little bit, it's not always easy, but it gets simpler.
It gets simpler. And that's just like fitness. You do a whole lot of mindset shifting with women. You help them and that's a daily battle on its own, right? You don't know what the day brings, let alone a year like 2020 when it messed everybody up. So they're just going to have to connect with you to chat more. Speaking of connecting, what is the best way people can get in touch?
For me, it's Facebook or Instagram. Those are my two main platforms. It's Erica.Hoese.
Perfect. And I'll add all that social media stuff. All right. Last thing before we go, we're going to do a little speed round. Normally I do some type of like HitaTalk trivia, or I throw out some like fire round questions. But they're just simple, just 4 simple things. All right. You have like 1 second to answer. What is the one food that you could eat on repeat forever?
Cheeseburgers.
Oh, okay. Hear it from her. You can eat cheeseburgers. Lipstick or mascara?
Mascara.
Would you like to go on a beach or a cruise?
Beach.
No one's going on cruises right now. Tea or smoothies? Pick one.
Ooh. Probably smoothies.
Rude. How dare I? I know those are your like 2 favorites.
That's hard. I need them both.
You don't drink coffee and you don't drink like wine and stuff, right? So it's like tea or smoothie. Yeah. Thank you, my darling. I love chatting with you. I hope that everybody that watches this takes at least one amazing thing away. If not, just get up and do your hair and the rest will figure itself out. Thanks, Erica, for your time. I will see you guys at the next adventure. Don't forget to subscribe to HitaTalk Season 4 and follow Erica. And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye. Thank you.